Good morning. It's December 22nd today. We're ending our reading in Micah 6 through 7 and then Revelation 13. In Micah, I guess the main thing that jumped out at me was he was helping God's people humble themselves to confess their sins. And that is a humbling experience. You know, it's a lot of times we don't like to admit that when we sin, when we do things we shouldn't be doing, make excuses and whatever else we do. Sometimes we run on God, sometimes we deny it, whatever. And it says here, man's enemies are the men of his own household. Therefore I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. And basically, sometimes the households, some of the worst times or places to be for our relationship with Christ. We don't always have believers in our households. We don't always have the ones who you would want to see have a relationship with Christ, and sometimes they pull you away. Because it says, do not trust in a friend. Because of the rampant sin and selfishness, personal relationships had crumbled among God's people, and one could not trust a friend or put confidence in a companion, and even blood relatives were at war with each other. And you ever heard that saying, when your family gathers together, don't talk religion or politics? That's true a lot of times because, even your blood relatives don't always, believe the same you believe in. And that causes division sometimes and arguments. As a believer, we like to dig our feet firmly in the ground and say that's how it is. And then the non-believers, don't go with that. So just a lot of different things in Micah that we, are interesting to look at today. And then Revelation 13, it talks about the two beasts, and it says the beast rising from the sea, and basically in Revelation 12, John's vision mainly had heaven in view, and now the scene of his vision shifted to the earth. In his vision, he stood on the sand and the sea. And basically, what's happening here, it's I'm trying to think of the right words to say. He's identifying evil and chaos, but it wasn't really. It really isn't Satan that he's looking at. It's looking at like more of the Antichrist coming into things, and it talks about the horns and what I read years ago was the more horns that these animals had, the tougher they were, the tougher to kill, the tougher that they take a stand in God, tougher the ones who were more for Satan, for the Antichrist. Even with them, I mean, if you cut off one, there's still six more to take on. So, read through it really good. A lot of this parallels with Daniel 7 when we read in that. So, look back on Daniel 7 if you want to, and look at the areas that it's talking about. The beasts, the two beasts that are coming out of the sea. It says one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded. This is a head wound, a mortal wound, not a superficial injury. Perhaps it is the result of God's judgment against the beast. That's one little tidbit that I pulled out of it that I wrote down here and looked up. And then the popularity of the beast. It says, so they worshipped the dragon and gave authority to the beast. As people worship the beast and bow down before his government, it may be that they do not know they are bowing down to Satan himself, but it is worship of Satan nonetheless. They clearly worship both the beast and the dragon, but their worship of the dragon may be unknown. And again, it's towards the end times. There are people that are going to be deceived by authority, by pretty much the government. And so some of our leaders out there, could possibly be the Antichrist someday. They've said that over and over, different ones over the years. Different ones they thought, oh, he's Antichrist. Well, we don't know. We don't know what how that's going to look like or anything. So, and that's why we need to stay focused on Christ. We need to stay focused on Him, not people of the world, things of the world. But of Jesus himself. So read through this really good today. There's a lot in Revelation 13 today, and it ends with a warning. He who has ears, let him hear. This introduces a solemn word of warning meant to capture the attention of all who hear. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. This means that the functionary of the beast are not without guilt, though they are things that prophesied and part of God's predetermined plan. It does not lessen in slightest way man's personal responsibility. If you work for the beast and lead others into captivity, you certainly shall go into captivity yourself. God will measure unto you what you have measured to others. Again, read through it. Let me know if anything jumps out at you. I'm going to actually be in Union City today, and we're going to be celebrating our Christmas with the Ohio and Indiana family anyways. And so enjoy your day. I'll see you Wednesday morning.